Suicide attempt survivors, what are some moments you would have missed out on if you had taken your lives? My pet lizard's death, my sister's pet's death, my great-great-grandparents' death, more mental breakdowns than I can count, a new identity crisis, the continuous decrease in my mental stability, losing all my friends, which is why I'm alone now, realizing I'll probably die alone, my sad attempt at online dating that just ended in drama and me hurting someone, then hurting someone else cause yeah I'm an asshole, my parents finding out that I'm actually suicidal, the awful therapy that didn't work. Realizing just how awful this world is, I also would have missed this whole COVID stuff, and college fish really sucks, along with other things. Long story short, I really wish those pills had worked, or that I just stabbed myself like I had planned. On the plus side, I would have missed Darby's reveal. Vish is extremely dumb, but whatever, the reveal itself was awesome, and I'd miss just barely graduating high school, so there's that I guess. Still wish I was dead. Growing up, meeting and marrying my amazing husband. Then losing him to cancer at 27. Getting a new job and finding a new way to live. Life will always throw you for a loop. Nothing is permanent and most things are chaos. But finding the sweet moments sprinkled throughout life is what it is all about. After experiencing this fully, it is always better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. Nothing worth staying for. I'm sorry I'm still alive. Missing the comedic US era when Trump became president. Getting 3 degrees and getting married. My new unresolved trauma, nightmares, more stress, fights with my family and my laughing condition. My last suicide attempt was overdose a few months ago. They told me that I just wanted attention, that I'm a delinquent and I'm crazy cause of my laughing condition. Now I'm afraid to sleep because of my reoccurring nightmares about my recent trauma. But, that's life. Smile. Finding a supportive girlfriend and finishing my first certificate since year 12. If I hadn't been interrupted, I'd have missed out on being homeless all year lol. Marriage, owning a wildlife rescue, the subsequent paralysis of my lower body for a while after the attempt, heart failure, you know. Oh boy, here we go. I started hanging out with friends a lot more to cope. The fact I almost killed myself, and that's how I met my now ex. Those were a great 6 months. Now I'm as happy as I could have been with my girlfriend and friends. Please remember that it takes rain to make flowers. Genuine happiness. It's so weird after a lifetime of depression. There's days where absolutely nothing happens and I have nothing to look forward to, but I still feel good. My first attempt was at 13 and my last was at 30. I still have ups and downs, but it's manageable now. Honestly, nothing. I'm not actively suicidal anymore, but I can't think of a single thing that's been good for me since I left the hospital. Feels like life is constantly pushing my buttons to see how far it can go before I break again. Getting the best little pet cat ever. I love her so much and she is my savior. We have an incredible bond. Magfest. Yeah, I'm not as close to that community as I used to be, but, yeah, I've had some life-changing moments there. The birth of my 10-year-old daughter. Well, I have a son now who is 6 years old and he's a great little person, and I'm also newly pregnant with our next child. So I would have missed out on a great marriage with my best friend and 2 really awesome kids who I love more than anything. I remind myself of that often. I could have died that night and I wanted to, but now I can't imagine being anywhere else. My dad is the second youngest of 36 grandchildren. So from my great-grandparents spread out across all 100 plus cousins at the great-grandchild level, he and I are the only father-son pair who carried on the last name. All the other sons had daughters. He's also the 3-minute older half of boy-girl twins, and a complete shithead. My last attempt was 3 years ago. If I would have succeeded, I wouldn't have met my wonderful husband or my niece and nephew. They're definitely my world and I love them. All the great music I've been listening to. I didn't care to listen to much new music at the start of the year. I just didn't have any passion for anything anymore. But after my failed secret attempt, I decided to try and do something that made life more tolerable, and music helps. I also have gotten closer to my little brothers. I spend a lot of time taking care of them and stuff. I also applied for classes and will be starting college again after 2 years next month after my 24th birthday. Which scares me because I didn't expect to live this long. Lol, I'm just freeballing it now. I still don't wanna be here, but I'm trying to change that, I guess. My kids. Both of them would not exist. Marrying my husband and getting another whole family whom I love. Starting a career with amazing, smart, kind people surrounding me. Snuggles with my goofy dog. Good music, good food, good dancing, good friends. Finally knowing what a full night's sleep feels like. Shout out to Zoloft, Wellbutrin and the 6 different mental health professionals who have been there for me in the past few years for keeping me around. The world becoming a wreck and divided due to a global crisis in the form of a pandemic. Thank you for making this post. It's an exercise I do in my head on the anniversary of my father's suicide every year. He missed my wedding to the girl he always hoped I'd end up with. My move to NYC to be with her, and where I found success. The birth of my absolutely brilliant son and daughter. Our leaving the city. My soul struggle to help my mom with a terribly debilitating disease. Our heartbreak at her death. The last of my family on that side. The kindness we found in the miracle of neighbors who became surrogate grandparents to my kids. The brokenness I've tried so hard to overcome from his absence. It's all fleeting. Remember the good, let the sadness be your excuse to make things better. Meeting my boyfriend. Having a child, who I love to death, with a woman, wife, who I loved and begged me for a child for years. Then, 3 weeks after he was born, she decided that she hated me and didn't want to be married anymore. And she still lives with me for free and emotionally abuses me daily, under threat of taking him out of state or disappearing altogether. He turns 2 the day before Christmas. Smile. I'm married to my best friend. And we have a dog. I mean, life's still tough on us, but we have a dog. The births of my nieces, they are the light of my life. I was getting ready to take some pills and got a phone call, unknown number. I ignored it, but then they left a message. It was this sweet old lady I kind of indirectly worked with at my job. You know how someone tells you something without knowing what's going on, but you know it's impossible that they would know that? Well, that's what her message was like. It kind of made me stop what I was doing and call her back. Flushed my pills while talking to her. 90% of my travels, friends and romantic relations. But depression isn't a linear chart. There have been many times since that I still feel the same despair. One of the worst things to tell a depressed person is to count their blessings, because they might and think, yeah, I have some good things going for me, so why do I still hurt so much? The only thought that's given me reason to keep going at times is that life has a tendency to surprise me, and it often has. My kids. I wouldn't have gotten to see my older bro get married. To be honest, there are way too many things to list here. There were so many cool life experiences that I will never forget, and even the negative ones had a wonderful impact on my life. This year specifically was the best of my life, so far, and I'm so excited for the next ones. 2 years of isolation during COVID. Being cheated on again. Star Wars Episode 9. Got so much, I attempted suicide at 15, I'm 21 now. Adopting my leopard gecko and experiencing the true joy of training a tiny little lizard not to fear this giant human. I wouldn't have lived to talk my friends out of suicide in the remaining years of high school. I wouldn't have gotten to go on the Latin trip to Rome, my sophomore year. I wouldn't have lived through 2 of the weirdest elections in American history. Would have never legally voted in any election. Having top surgery, living in a body I actually like for the first time since childhood, and meeting all the kind nurses and doctors who were always really happy when I had follow-up appointments. Graduating high school and earning an award for always reading. Becoming a Canadian citizen. attending university and making friends and learning how to use a microscope. The absolute insanity of the COVID-19 pandemic really put into perspective how much I had grown since my attempt, because I was so much more scared of death in 2020 whereas I had sought it in 2015. There were two skunks I saw run under my mom's car chasing each other during the summer I spent back in the States due to COVID. I got a photo of them and it's one of my favorite memories of that summer. I hadn't been an editor of Wikipedia until after my attempt, so the world wouldn't have as accurate information about gall-forming insects and nasal breathing and many other things.